Yo, what up? How you guys doing out there today? This is your boy Roto Beast. I'm here with my boy Jeremy. We're here to present you our NBA morning shoot around for Monday, March 2nd. If you're new to this channel, please make sure and click the subscribe button below. This way you can watch all of our NBA, NFL, and MLB videos. If you haven't come and checked out our website here at dfscheatsheet.com, you're absolutely missing out. We have all the tools to help you compete with the pros day in and day out, including the complete optimizer, tons of content, daily FanDuel and DraftKings cash lineups. Hey, we're truly a one-stop shop for all your DFS needs. So make sure to come check out the site here at dfscheatsheet.com. So how you doing out there, Jeremy?
What's up, man? Another day of DFS, all kinds of stuff going on. I'm ready to get into it.
Yeah, definitely, man. I always talk about NBA, NFL, and MLB just because those have always been our main sports for the past 4 or 5 years. We've always focused on those. But hey, man, I got to start getting away from saying that because now we got so much other stuff. We got, MMA, NASCAR, PGA, even got some XFL going, NHL on the daily. So we truly have a lot more than the three main sports. So if you like playing other stuff than just those sports, definitely check out the site. There's a lot of content going up every day. A lot of people making some money. Go check out our Discord chat. A lot of fun day in and day out. People in there just talking daily fantasy sports. And yeah, man, let's talk some basketball. You ready?
Yeah, a lot of people this weekend posting $1,000. Somebody won 5,500 on NASCAR. That's up. If you're not in the score, there's a lot of stuff going down the score where a lot of people are making a lot of money. So yeah, I'm ready to get into it. And by the way, the link for Discord is below. Just click the link below after you click subscribe and like the video. Right? Just click Discord.
Yeah. Hey, and it's free. Our Discord channel is free, so go check it out and come join the fun. So hey, we'll jump into it. First game we're gonna start with. We got Portland going into Orlando to face the Magic.
Man, I think that you start with Hassan Whiteside, right? I mean, this guy's been very high owned since Lillard's been out. This guy's playing at a super high level. His price really hasn't moved on FanDuel. He's still 9,500. He seems like he's been 9,500 for the last 5 games. And over that stretch, 52, 50, 45, 51, and 49 fantasy points. He's not quite at that 6X total you like to see. You need 58, 57 for value at 6X, but he's right around it. And look, Vucevic is a guy going against Vucevic. It's another big, and I know we usually have the rule like two big guys going against each other. We try to avoid it, but Vucevic is not a great defender as far as like on the ball defender. He's an okay rebounder. He likes to live, in that 10 to 12 foot area. And Hassan Whiteside, I think this guy, it's a familiar matchup for him. I think he could dominate the spot. So you have to start with him. We still don't have Lillard. Lillard's going to miss at least 3 more games. So with Lillard out, I mean, CJ McCollum, he's been the guy that everybody's went to, but there's some other guys playing extremely well too in his absence. And I think you can look at all 5 starters outside of Whiteside. You could look at Carmelo Anthony. Ariza's a very fair price tag. He's playing very well recently. You take a look at his game log, 34.6, 23.8. That's upside on a price tag of 4.8. And then my favorite guy that I've been playing really all season is Gary Trent. He's a tournament-only play, but he does have the upside of 40 fantasy points, and he seems to have a floor of about 17. So on a 4.2 price tag, it really makes him a tournament-only option. He's had at least 15 real points in each of the last 2 games, and he's had at least 22 fantasy points in 3 of the last 5 games. So I like this kid, Gary Trent Jr. This is a game against Orlando that has, a close spread. The game should be close, should be competitive, and I'm really looking at all 5 starters.
Yeah, for sure, man. I definitely like some guys on this Orlando side thing as well. These are guys that nobody ever plays. They're under-owned, and these guys have been playing very well. You can look at Markelle Fultz, 5,100, the resurgence of his career. Nobody thought this guy would ever be anybody in the NBA, and obviously he's not nothing like all-star caliber right now, but he has definitely been playing very well since getting that starting role out there in Orlando. Evan Fournier, right? Fournier.
Yeah.
Well,
Fournier.
got one right, bro.
Got one right. Evan Fournier. Boom.
So Fournier, he's been playing very, very well. 6,100, a fair price tag for the minutes and the shots and production that he's been providing. You got Terrence Ross coming off the bench at 4,900 as that 6th man, playing very well. I think that all 3 of those guys are in GPP. And GPP, caliber to be looking at today. You can look at Vucevic. Yes, Whiteside is a good defender, and I understand. But Vucevic, he faced him one time earlier this year, and he actually had a really monster game. He faced him on December 20th, and he went for 23 and 12 for 63 fantasy points. Had 6 steals. So I think you could look at him as a GPP play as well. And last but not least, Aaron Gordon, since the All-Star break, has been on absolute fire. He is coming in today questionable at a 7,400 price tag. If he does end up playing, he's going to play his regular minutes. I think you could really look at him in this spot. Before last game, he had 3 straight games of at least 52 fantasy points for the past 5. And if Aaron Gordon does end up getting ruled out, then we got to see who's going to step in that starting role for him. If it's going to be, Birch or something like that at a bare minimum price tag, possibly have some value. So we do got to wait on that news. But I do like this. I like both sides of this game. I think this game is going to be a pretty up-tempo game. Like you said, very close spread, and it should have some definite fantasy relevancy in there. Moving on, next game we're going to talk about, we got Utah going into Cleveland to face the Cavaliers.
And Cleveland's at home, and I like targeting games when Cleveland's at home because I say it all the time. They're competitive at home, and I think you could look at Rudy Gobert in this spot, but Gobert against Drummond. If Drummond's going to play, we know Tristan Thompson's already out. If Drummond is to sit also, then I definitely would like Rudy Gobert at this price tag of 7,800. You have to keep playing Royce O'Neal, man. At 4,300 for Royce O'Neal, this guy all season long, he's been a consistent player. He doesn't score a lot of actual points, but if you look, he's gotten you at least 25 fantasy points in 4 of the last 5 games, and he plays between 29 and 32 minutes. He gets a lot of rebounds. He gets you some assists. He can knock down a 3. He's just an all-around, one of those kind of all-around players that his price tag is very cheap, and he's kind of averaging 6x his price tag over the last 5 games. So you got to keep, in my opinion, keep playing this guy. Against a sloppy team like the Cavaliers, this is a place where Royce O'Neal could possibly get you a couple steals, maybe a block shot, some rebounds, knock down a couple threes, and get you 6 or 7x on this price tag. But to me, it's about Donovan Mitchell, right? 7,600 for this price tag. Cleveland plays well at home. They keep it competitive at home. I think this is a game where you see Mitchell knock down multiple threes, get you value pretty easy today. And that's kind of where I'm at. Mike Conley, 6,100. He'd be my 4th option on this slate. There's other point guards that we're going to talk about as we get more into it that I like better than Mike Conley. But Mike Conley's playing deep. When he plays, and he plays 30 minutes, he's getting you 30 to 35 fantasy points pretty regularly. He's had at least 30 fantasy points in 2 of the last 4 games. And then he had the stretch where he missed games before that. It just, Conley's not a guy for me that it's a tournament only option. And it's kind of I hate to say it, but it's kind of a dark play.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, on the Cleveland side of things, I think it's pretty simple. I mean, I think you got to look at there are 2 guys that you really focus on first. I definitely think it's Colin Sexton. I think it's Kevin Love. Kevin Love, the minutes have been trending back up a little bit. He still comes in dirt cheap at 6,400. Both of those guys are in GPP consideration. And then the last guy I'm going to talk about, it's looking like Andre Drummond is going to be doubtful today. You could possibly look at Larry Nance at 4,900. If he's going to get the start. It isn't the easiest matchup, but I don't think that Larry Nance will be the guy that'll be going against Gobert. I think that'll be Tristan Thompson. Oh, well, actually, Tristan Thompson's actually out too. So it could be Larry Nance, guarding a little bit of Gobert, which is a tough matchup. But if both of their bigs are out and he can stay out of foul trouble, I think that he can definitely have a pretty good spot here. I mean, they got no other bigs. It's going to be Love. It's going to be Love and Nance. As long as they can stay on the floor, I think that they both can have pretty good games here. They're just too cheap for GPPs. I think you can look at them. Moving on, next game that we'll talk about, we got we got Houston going into New York to face the Knicks.
And the first thing that pops out to me is the under $11,000 price tags for Harden and Westbrook. I mean, it's a big spread in this game, obviously. Harden, he went through a stretch where he had 60 fantasy points in 3 straight games, and then he's kind of tapered off a little bit. Against, the Knicks, he had 57. That was in Houston. And then the Memphis and Boston games, he had only 40 fantasy points. That'll kill you when he's this price tag or higher. Westbrook, on the other hand, I like Westbrook, man. I think that they're starting to figure this out, and I think that part of the reason they got rid of Capella was because of they had Harden who can knock down a bunch of threes, and they've got Westbrook who's a very aggressive player who likes to drive and dish. And I think this has benefited Westbrook more than anybody else. I mean, you look at this guy, the actual points he's scoring. He scored at least 33 real basketball points in 6 of the last 7 games. So, back-to-back 60-point fantasy point outings. I like him a ton in this spot. I think he's a really nice pivot off Doncic, who should be somewhat chalky today without Porzingis. For me, I love Westbrook. And you can look at these other guys. Robert Covington, his price tag has just stayed where it's at, and he's played really well since coming over to Houston. he's played really well. It seems like 35 is his floor. Really over the last 7 or 8 games that has the upside of 45 to 47 fantasy points at this price tag. So, with 8x upside and kind of a 5x floor, Covington's a really solid play here as well. The other guys in this spot, I'm not really interested in their bench players like Eric Gordon and Austin Rivers. I think it's really about Westbrook and Covington. James Harden, he's a tournament play any night because we know his triple-double upside. But to me, Westbrook's the guy I'm really looking at.
Yeah, I mean, on the Knicks side of things, I think it's pretty simple. I mean, you can look at Alfred Payton playing a bunch of minutes at 6,300 in an up-tempo game. He's a guy that has triple-double upside. RJ Barrett is really starting to come back on after kind of hitting the middle. He started off really hot, kind of got wore down a little bit, hit a little bit of a slump. He's starting to play a little bit better. I think you can look at him as a strictly GPP play. And then Randall at 7,800 going against a team without a real center. I think this is the prime spot for Randall to have a really good game. I really like him in this spot going against Houston. He faced him not that long ago. He got you 17 and 12, solid double-double. So I think that he definitely is a guy that we can look at. Outside that, I mean, you could possibly look at Mitchell Robinson, 6,200. He's been playing very, very well. He's got you at least 43 fantasy points in 4 of the past 5 games. You can throw him in a couple of GPP plays. Then he could definitely dominate PJ Tucker down low. He's much bigger than them. So that's really where I'm at. I think that you can look at those 4 guys. It should be a pretty up-tempo competitive game. But definitely have some fantasy points scored. Moving on, next game we're talking about, we got Memphis going into Atlanta to face the Hawks.
I like this game. I just don't like too many pieces on the Memphis side of it. I mean, Valanciunas is 7,200. He's a good tournament play. You look at Valanciunas, the price tag is fair at 7,200 for a game that's got this high of an over-under and this close of a spread. The problem I have with Valanciunas is how many minutes is he going to play in this up-tempo of a game? You look at previous games that have similar flows, like Sacramento, he only played 20 minutes. You look at the Houston game, they're a similar type pace team. He only played 22 minutes. So that worries me a little bit. I think you could definitely take a chance on him in deep field tournaments, more of a dart type play, a low owned leverage play, if you will. But, he has major upside. We know that. He has 6 to 7x, even 8x upside on this price tag. He has had back-to-back games of at least 48 fantasy points. But I just worry about the pace of this game, and I worry about, how many minutes he's going to play. The only thing that goes in his favor is they really are out of big men, but except for Gorgui Dieng. I think I would like to play Dieng a little bit more than I would Valanciunas if I was going to play a center in this spot for Memphis, because you've got a more athletic guy with Dieng who can bring more upside as far as block shots, and he can run the floor. So Morant, Dylan Brooks, I like them, but to be honest with you, for me, I like the Atlanta side of this game a lot more than I like the Memphis side.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you're looking at Trae Young, almost 10,000. I understand the price tag is steep, but man, the guy's just been playing absolutely out of his mind, giving you a really solid floor. John Collins at 8,600. I think this is a good spot where he can have another really, really good game there. I mean, those are really the main 2 guys for me. And then, after that, you can look at a couple guys, but I'm not going to go crazy with them. You could possibly look at Huerter. You could possibly look at DeAndre Hunter. Both of those guys getting some decent run. But, I mean, whenever we're talking about Atlanta, you're looking at their 2 young guys. It's Trae Young. It's John Collins. Those are the main events for them out there.
DeAndre Hunter is probably one of the best values on the entire slate, especially when you look at what he's done in the past, 2 weeks or 3 weeks of the season. 46 upside, kind of averaging you right at 27. I mean, he's one of the best values on the slate, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely had to bring him up. Moving on, next game we talk about, we got Milwaukee going into Miami to face the Heat.
And your boy Doncic, again, it seems like he's been a game-time decision his entire life. But he's chalked here to me, in my opinion, without Brunson. It's even Seth Curry's a game-time decision. Porzingis has been ruled out. It's a 10-4 price tag on a guy that has triple-double upside. The Bulls, as a whole, on paper, haven't been terrible against guards. They haven't been great against guards, but this is Doncic, triple-double upside for 10-4. I think he's somewhat chalky today. If Trae Young was on this slate, I think he would be the default chalk. I like Doncic a ton in this spot just because of the fact that they've got to score the basketball. And you look around and you've got Tim Hardaway, and that's really it as far as guys that are going to score the basketball if Seth Curry is going to be out as well. So Doncic, to me, I think Doncic is the best play in this game. I think he's one of the better plays in the slate. You could definitely look at Tim Hardaway. If Seth Curry's out, I would give the bump to Hardaway. He should get a few extra shots. He is a three-point shooter. He can get hot. We've seen his price tag up to as high as $6,500. He's down to $5,700 right now. Those are the two guys I'm looking at. The rest of this stuff, look, I'm not interested in Dorian Finney-Smith. I'm not interested in Maxi Kleber. I'm not really interested in any of these guys. Excuse me. If Curry plays, I could see using him in deep tournament play as a deep tournament play. But to me, it's Doncic, man. Doncic and move on.
Yeah, for sure. On this Miami side of things, there's some guys that are playing a bunch of minutes, and I'm definitely really liking. I'm going to start with, you got Dragic, you got Nunn. I like both of those guys a lot. They're both very, very fair price tags. We got both of them projected at over a 5X price tag. So I definitely think that you can look at both of them. Jimmy Butler at 8,000 in a game which should be very, very competitive. I think that he's a guy you can look at. Jake Crowder since coming over. The guy has fit in very, very well. He's coming in. Yeah.
You jumped ahead.
What do you mean?
You forgot Chicago.
Oh shit! I'm over here. I thought we're on the Miami and.
I just got done talking about Dallas, and you started.
Oh yeah. I'm sorry. I had a brain fart right now. You're right. Hey, I started talking about Doncic and his whole career being hurt. Yeah, I'm with you. Okay, so on the Chicago side of things, definitely still think there's a couple guys. A lot of people are going to go to Kobe White. That's a guy that we've talked about somewhat. Yeah, I understand the play, but they got a lot of guys out there running the point stuff. They got Satoransky. You got Archie Diacono. You got Shaq Harrison. That's a tough spot. Zach LaVine is a game-time decision. If he does end up getting ruled out, he's considered doubtful. So if he does end up getting ruled out, you can look at some of those other guys that I just mentioned in the point guard spot to get some shooting guard run as well. We got to see who would start if Zach LaVine would be out. That would be the guy I probably would be most intrigued about. Outside of that, I mean, Thaddeus Young. I don't have too much excitement about Chicago. Thaddeus Young has definitely been playing well at 5,800. He's a guy that's going to give you a really, really solid floor. But Wendell Carter at 3,600. He came back and he played 18 minutes, got you 23 fantasy points at a bare minimum price tag. He's a guy that you can look at. But I think the biggest news out there in Chicago is we got to wait what happens with LaVine. And if he does end up getting ruled out, who's going to get the burn with him being out for sure. Cool. Move on. So now we'll go back to the game. Sorry, you got Milwaukee going into Miami to face the Heat.
The crazy thing is that Chicago looks so chalky with three guys possibly starting at bare minimum price tags in a game that's only a 6.5 point spread. That's going to be the thing to watch for me. Like you said, the V news is big. Moving on though, Milwaukee, it's tough, man. I've talked about this a lot. Over 38% of their possessions end with the ball in Giannis's hand. It makes it really difficult to kind of target other players. But if Chris Middleton isn't going to play today, he is probable. If something does pop up where Middleton is out, I think you can look at Dante DiVincenzo and you can look at Pat Connaughton. Both those guys should absorb Chris Middleton's minutes. You could also give a little bit of a boost to Bledsoe if that is to happen. But if he plays, he's probable. It's really about Giannis and it's really about Chris Middleton. I think this is a slate where you're going to be able to pay up for 2 spots for sure, possibly 3. If Giannis is on the slate at 11.5, I think it's picking the right point guard to go with him and then paying up for Giannis. It's a good spot for him. Jimmy Butler is not going to defend Giannis. Nobody's in the league can really defend Giannis. I know Giannis is kind of out to prove he's not just a power player, but that's really what his game is. He can get rebounds, he can push the pace, and he can dunk it. So to me, it's Giannis. A team that has that many possessions ending with one player, it's really hard to get excited about other guys when the price tag is this high. Middleton, yeah, he's had good games, but at 7,200 with 40% of the possessions ending in the hands of Giannis, it's just tough to say, yeah, I'm going to pay 72 for Middleton on the slate. He's fine in tournaments, but to me, it's Giannis and move on.
Yeah, and then so I'll go back to the Miami thing. Sorry that I already kind of touched on a little bit, but there is some guys I really do like out there in Miami that I do think that are good plays. I mean, like I said, Dragic and Nunn, both of them playing right around 30 minutes. And they've both been playing very well. We got both of them projected at over a 5X price tag. Jimmy Butler in a very competitive game. He's gonna want to prove something that he can be a leader on this team that's contending out there in the East. Definitely in play. Jay Crowder's just coming over. The guy's been playing very well, playing around 30 minutes a game. He's still pretty cheap. We got him projected at a 5.7x, almost 6x. I think he's a guy you can look at. And then last but not least, you got Bam going against a Milwaukee team who plays Brook Lopez as a center spot. I think Bam can absolutely dominate Brook Lopez. If he is matched up against Giannis a little bit, it's a little bit of a more of a tougher matchup for Bam. But nonetheless, I mean, the guy's going to give us a really solid floor, basically a double-double night in and night out. So I think that you can look at him. I think it's going to be a fun game. I don't know, fantasy-wise, I don't know if it's going to be the most fantasy relevancy game, but I think it's going to be a very competitive game and a very fun game to watch. I think it'll be a little bit more of a defensive game, in my opinion.
Yeah, we just see them play Milwaukee play against Toronto like 4 or 5 games ago, and it was like an 83-79 game late in the fourth quarter, just all defense. Right. Milwaukee's the best defensive team in the league, and this is a tough game to pick fantasy goodness out of.
Yeah, for sure. Moving on, final game of the night, you got Indiana going into San Antonio to face the Spurs.
Yeah, and look, all these guys have been playing somewhat decent, right? Sabonis has been playing well. The price tag is back up, almost $9,000 on FanDuel. Malcolm Brogdon, his price tag is crept up $600, now $6,700 on FanDuel. TJ Warren has kind of stayed in his lane with his price between $5,000 and $5,500. He's up to $5,900 after scoring 30 points the other night against Cleveland and 42.6 fantasy points. TJ Warren, I just think he's a little bit overpriced. If he was, more around $5,500 to $5,000, that's kind of almost what he's averaging. With 6x he's kind of averaging, 6x his price tag. If it'd be 5,000, because that 28 to 30 fantasy points is kind of what he comes up with. Oladipo's price tag 5,400. We've been talking about this guy all year, and he's finally starting to play more in the flow of things. 15 points against Portland for 25 fantasy points, and then 19 against Cleveland for 33 fantasy points. He's gotten his legs back under him a little bit. You can look at all 5 of these guys. There's Aldridge is a game time decision. Jakob Poeltl, who burned the shit out of us the other night in our cash game lineup, he's out already. They don't really have a big man. There's some value on this other side, but if you're going to tell me that Sabonis and Miles Turner are going to play against Trey Lyles and who? Lonnie Walker? I mean, one of those 2 guys is going to have a pretty big game, and I think you could pair them with Malcolm Brogdon or Victor Oladipo. So to me, I think that the exposure you get to this game would be one of the bigs with one of the guards and just move on.
Yeah, for sure. And then, we'll go out there to the San Antonio side of things. I don't know how I got stuck with them. They're your favorite team to be talking about DFS-wise.
So glad I talk about them.
But all these guys are strictly GPP for me. There's nobody that really stands out. It jumps off the board. You could look at DeJounte Murray. He's showed us some upside games. DeMar DeRozan with no Aldridge. You can possibly look at him, but it's not the best matchup. Rudy Gay's a guy that's hit or miss. He definitely has upside, but he has the downside. Trey Lyles, some days he plays 18 minutes. Some days he plays like he did last game where he had a monster game and he played 39 minutes. So if Trey Lyles is going to play 30+ minutes, I think that I would like him a lot at the price tag. I think he's a very fair price tag. And then you got this guy, Drew Bates, or however you say it. He's a guy I'm not really interested in, even though it's a bare minimum price tag. For me, it's GPP. Like I said, it's Murray, it's DeRozan. You can look at Rudy Gay. You can look at Lyles, or like guys that you have 1% owned and just kind of hopefully that they go off. And that's really where I'm at, bro.
I'm going to tell you right now, this is a game, right? When if Aldridge doesn't play, where you have Poeltl out, you have Aldridge out. This is a game where Popovich is going to pull a name out of a hat, and it's going to be somebody like, Chimezie Metu or Quandre Weatherspoon or, Marco Bellinelli, one of these 3 guys or 4 guys that they have that haven't played in forever. He's going to pull a name out of a hat. Everybody's going to fall on the chalk of Lonnie Walker in value because he's been good earlier this season. Bryn Forbes at 3,500 as well. And Popovich is going to burn everybody in this spot because he's going to pull a couple names out of a hat. It's so hard to figure out with San Antonio. To me, it's garbage.
Yeah, for sure. I wouldn't agree with you. I was just trying to find something good out of it, for sure. So that's really where we're at with today's slate. If you want a more in-depth analysis, make sure to check out the site, dfscheatsheet.com. And hey, good luck on your guys' contest tonight, all right? Peace out.